before making that jump, can I fall back on working toward my dreams, my aspirations out of fear of failing or being broke? No, I couldn't. Because if that's the mindset, then I have guaranteed myself a one-way ticket to unfulfillment city and regret land on my deathbed. Hello, and welcome to the Blueprint Journal. And I'm your host, Zach. The Blueprint Journal is a podcast that aims to mainstream independent thinking, highlight individual successes and failures, and share practical knowledge to achieve your version of success. Throughout this podcast, our focus will be documenting the journey through entrepreneurship rather than spotlighting the byproducts of achieving great success. I want to thank you all for tuning in, and I hope you enjoy the podcast. Yeah, what is going on, folks, man? What is going on? We're here with episode number 2. I'm gonna fix this mic real quick, man. Hope you guys have been doing all right. I hope you guys actually, if you haven't listened to the first podcast, and if you have, I hope you enjoyed it. You know, that's kind of just a little bit of a taste of what's going on inside my brain, man. So much more coming, just like this one. But this one is actually going to just be a 4-part installment as I'm reading and really studying, digesting the 4-Hour Work Week. And I'm probably going to do this with other books that I read because I enjoy reading a lot, and I want to share some of these lessons that I've been learning inside these books with you guys that aren't reading it, just so you see where I draw my inspiration from for a lot of the things that I do. And something that I've been so proud of is just the fact that I noticed how no matter how successful somebody is, they're always still, striving to improve themselves. It's not necessarily because they want to be perfect, but it's just because there's always something new to learn. There's a better way for them to do something if they've been doing something for a while. I know that sounded kind of vague, but for real, it's what it is. So it feels good to be on the same frequency as a lot of these successful people, man. And anybody who's on this path and this journey of success will be able to understand what I'm saying. So I would assume it's most of you all that's listening to this podcast. But yeah, man, like I've had this book for a couple of years now. And this is actually, I would say, the first time I've read it in the mindset that I'm in right now. And this book hits on another level. So as always, you guys know everything will be down in the show notes or the description below. So feel free to use those links. There's also going to be a link to the blog and a worksheet that I recommend you guys to do as well. But this book has really inspired me to become more hyper-focused, man, like within my business and for myself, and in a really good way, in a very proficient, effective way, because he kind of goes through his own timeline of his entrepreneurial journey and how he kind of hit a ceiling in his business, which I'm most afraid of. And that's kind of the reason why I started thinking about, hiring this person and that person to do this and do that for me. But he said he hit this ceiling in his business, and he realized that 1, he can't scale, and 2, he can't sell. And it got me thinking about my own business model, and I was like, and I was literally like, wow, I'm either going in that direction or I've already started approaching that. And I realized, like, I don't want to hit that ceiling because I have so many things that I want to do in my life that I cannot paint myself in a corner because I didn't think deeper enough about how I can apply myself and read books to teach me new things. You feel me? Like, so already one of the first things that this book came off as for me was just a great way for me to learn how to increase my return on investment, make me a better business owner and free up my time to do more things that I'm excited to do, as for example, this podcast. And Robert Kiyosaki in Cash Flow Quadrant, he actually defines 4 types of people. You have the employee, you have the self-employed, you have the business owner, and you have the investor. And I would say for 11 out of the past 14 months, I've had my business. I've had that self-employed mindset where if it needs to get done, I can do it the best, rather than delegating, finding, vetting, and delegating the work out to somebody that can do better. And also, 2 brains are better than 1. 4 hands are better than 2. You feel me? Like allowing somebody else to take on that burden under my direction. So this kind of, in a way, definitely validated one of the things that I've been thinking about making that move on. But this really helped me, and I'm going to talk to you guys about dreamlining now, but it really helped me define these things in a way that I can actually go about looking for those requirements, you feel me? And actually hit up my boy Brian because he has more expertise in this kind of realm of hiring and stuff, because he's had his business much longer than mine, So being able to reach out to somebody that is successful with what he does, everybody has that resource. And if you don't, you can always find it, But I guarantee you guys, there's somebody that or that you can reach out to that is a little bit further along their path than you. And you can always reach out to them and get some advice, get some pointers. That's what having people in the world is for. We are the preeminent social creature in the entire world. And I don't want to get too off topic, but that's the problem with social media, man. A lot of people have forgotten how to socialize. I haven't. I really haven't. So with dreamlining, basically what you do is you do a very general, detailed list of some goals that you want to achieve and, things you want to do. And so he breaks it up into things that are having, like what you want to have, being what you want to be, and doing, and basically what you want to do. And they can be materialistic things. It could be you want the moon, you want to fly a rocket. It doesn't matter, The more unrealistic, the better, to be honest, because we tend to, as people, we tend to underestimate how much work it actually takes to achieve something. So even if we have a goal, for example, if somebody's goal is to have a rental property in the next year, if that's all they aim for, then they might not actually understand the work ethic that it will take to even achieve that goal. Therefore, they might not even hit it because they will severely underestimate how much work it takes to really get that rental cash flowing, right? And let's not talk about the economy, right? 2020, man. But if somebody aims to get 10 properties, just as a thought experiment, the way you go about that in the next 12 months is way different. You need to have all your I's dotted and all your T's crossed. You cannot miss anything. You need to know who can help you. What contractors do you need to do a walkthrough with you? What do you need to learn? You start asking these questions. I mean, I do personally. When I start thinking so big, I need to start asking major questions in order to even actualize this goal as just a thought experiment. You never know. It might actually be possible. I never said it was impossible. I just said it was hard. I just said it might be unrealistic. You feel me? So that's what dreamlining will make you do. Break these general goals that you have and make them more real, break them up and actualize them a little bit. So I did that, man. And my Dreamline chart really helped me focus, man. It's crazy. I don't even really know how to explain it, but For me, typically what I would do, especially when I get so excited with a book, I'll just fly through it. But the fact that this book had questions before each chapter ended, I was like, I have to answer these questions. I have to do these exercises. I feel like I would be cheating myself. So I went ahead and did them, and I felt like it was extremely helpful. So again, link below. Go ahead and read the book, buy the book, do your thing, man. But this part, D is for definition, also helped validate some of these things that I was independently coming across myself. The first one, of course, is he quoted, "Less is not lazy." And I definitely felt that when I read that, just because of the fact that I have been on such a productivity high that I really want to understand my body to the T. And in order for me to do that, I needed to get into my diet. I needed to get into my exercise habits. I really needed to break these things up and figure out what works and what doesn't work for me, right? Then, more recently, I started noticing there are certain hours of the day, certain, parts of the day where I am so active, like mentally. My brain is just working really hard. And then there's hours in the day where my brain does not want to. All my brain wants to do is just chill and read. So I started taking note of it and started experimenting and purposefully putting myself in the situation where I know my brain doesn't want to do the labor intensive work, and the vice versa. When I want to do the labor intensive work, try to chill, and it doesn't sit right. So I'm like, okay, cool. This is cool. So less is not laziness is just a rule about productivity. If you can be productive, say, for example, if you work 40 hours a week, what if you learned how to automate, delegate, say 90% of that work, and you only work 10% or 4 hours out of the 40? Come on, just think about that. And that made me realize, I was like, I can definitely 10x what I'm doing if I learn and really optimize myself and my working habits to fit me. So the second thing was the timing is never right. And the reason why that set so deep for me was just because that's kind of the thought process I was having before becoming self-employed. Like, one of the scariest things that you can face before making that jump is, what if I fail? And see, the thing about it is, like, if you think about the worst case scenario, what if you do fail? Me, personally, the very first thing that I think about is like, what can I do? What can I do to not feel like I've lost it all, and fail for me is just not, at the time at least, is just not being financially stable. What if I can't pay my bills? What if I can't do like this and that? Like, that's what fail meant, So looking that in the face was like, okay, what do I need to be able to make in order to avoid that from happening? If my business were to fail, worst case scenario, all my clients tonight send me an email and they're like, knock on wood, but they say, we don't need you anymore. What am I supposed to say? No, please. No, man, that's not going to fly. So what can I do? Worst case scenario. If I'm prepared, which I am, I would have something saved up just to bide my time for a little bit. Word of advice, never not have a pipeline full. But secondly, say I don't have a full pipeline. Say I haven't been prospecting actively. What can I do in order to make sure my ends meet at the very minimum and still allow me to work on my business as I should? Well, I could get a part-time job at, say, a grocery store or something. Or if I wanted more freedom, I could do Uber Eats or Postmates or something where it requires me to put in the effort. Okay, I'm cool with that. Worst case scenario, I have to do something like that. Okay, that's fine. I will have to do it with purpose. So if I can fall back on something like that, on a part-time job or Uber Eats or something, worst case scenario isn't that scary, for real. But the question I had to ask myself is like, before making that jump, can I fall back on working toward my dreams, my aspirations, out of fear of failing or being broke? No, I couldn't. Because if that's the mindset, then I have guaranteed myself a one-way ticket to unfulfillment city and regret land on my deathbed. And personally, I refuse to live that way. Maybe it's just the millennial in me, but I'm not the first to think like this. So it can't be. And for me, I would say I'm familiar with this feeling of discomfort when I face that challenge or an obstacle, or when I have to look my fear square in the face. Because again, I'm not a fake optimist, you feel me? I'm not out here just trying to motivate y'all just to motivate y'all, whatever. I'm actually so realistic because I prepare for the worst case scenario. That's the only way I can face my fear. I have to prepare for it. And when I know that, when I face that scenario and I make that move, it has the biggest upside of return. And at worst, I already told you, broke. But for me, I don't know about y'all, but for me, I've faced so many failures already in my life. 23 years on this earth. Homeless, broke, hungry. But yet here I am on a podcast. Still kicking it. Still full of life. Still striving for greatness. You see, I don't want you guys to think that I'm void of fear. I'm not. Everybody has it. But what I practice every day is to be void of inaction. Because I've learned through experience, inaction is the ultimate dream killer. And inaction is potential of greatness gone down the drain. You see, I have a very good friend of mine. He's an amazing musician. Amazing. I've never seen anybody make music like this guy. And he's not living his dream of being a musician. I don't know if it's necessarily out of fear because being in the music industry is not easy. Note, I said not easy, not impossible. But I don't know. Maybe his goals changed. I don't know. But you never know. Only you know what you fear most. So I'm not going to poke at it too much. But I know for a fact it would be possible for this guy to make it in the music industry. But, he's not striving for it. So, it's all good, I guess. But for me, I know through my daily habits that when I face that fear creeping up, because you guys know I take cold showers every single day. I actually take 2 cold showers now. I feel that mist from that water when I step in. It's you cannot miss it. Or before I make a cold call or send a cold email out, I feel that discomfort. But I've learned when I feel that fear creeping up, I know I'm moving in the right direction. Because that's the only direction that has been giving me ultimate guidance and growth. And after I started noticing that fear can be a tool to build rather than a wall that I would put up, I've seen drastic growth, significant growth. And it's not all about finances. And everybody who follows this channel and podcast knows I am dead set on mindset more than finances. Those are just a bonus. I want to live on my own terms and have regular fulfillment through my friendships and experiences. Those are the only things that I seek. Simple. But yeah, man, D is for definition. It's crazy. I freaking loved this section. And I'm really excited to see what he has in the next sections coming up. There's like 7 things that I highlighted inside this section that I want to share with you guys real quick before we end the podcast. 7 things that I definitely feel like that you guys could take with you. Number 1, interest levels and energy are cyclical. And that's where I go back to the productivity. I'm not always interested in doing my work, and my energy is not always the highest in order to do it. But being mindful of these things is super key. But it's cyclical. It'll come, it'll go, it'll wax, it'll wane. Number 2, less is not laziness. Quality of work more than the quantity of hours that you work. So remember that. Number 3, timing is never right. Never try to time anything. You can't even time the right time to have a baby. You can't even time the right time to jump in the stock market. So don't time it. Do what feels right. Calculated risk, but take action. 4, emphasize your strengths and don't fix your weaknesses. The reason why that's so powerful is because anybody who understands where they're weak, they can hire somebody that is strong in that. And you grow. You become better as a business owner, as a person. You don't have to be great at everything. Jack of all trades, master of none. Remember that. 5, relative income is more important than absolute income. Tim Ferriss talks about this in a little bit of depth, but understand that if somebody's making $100,000 a year and you're only making 50, but they have to work 40 hours a week and you only have to work 4, who's really winning? Just think about that, man. Quality of life. Number 6, not all stress is bad. Distress is bad, but eustress is good. Eustress, EU, same prefix as euphoria. So remember that, man. We all need stress. We need something to drive us, but we don't want the bad stress that is going to kill us. And number 7, man, I have a question to throw at you guys that I want you guys to think about a little bit. How has being realistic or responsible kept you from living the life that you want? Sometimes you have to think unrealistic goals in order to really actualize and not underestimate what your real goals are, what you're really capable of. And I'm not going to tell you to be irresponsible and make bad decisions, but sometimes you need to take a risk. Bet big on yourself. But yeah, man, that's it for this podcast. I'm going to see you guys on the next one. Peace.